It had been only a few weeks since Edward had taken his passenger train out. It had been Edward's first day out in a long time. And almost all of the engines had given Edward their full support. However, two did not. Gordon and another big blue tender engine, known as Brandon, were quite displeased with Edward. Brandon, better known by his number 98462, was one of 3 engines brought by Sir Topham Hatt to the railway on trial. He and Gordon had a great deal in common. They were both rude and cocky. However, unlike Gordon, he never seemed to know when enough was enough. You finally managed to make it out of the station! Edward had just returned from his passenger run and was feeling proud. What a useless engine you are, Brandon continued. I'm sure we'll be hearing plenty of complaints from the passengers from tomorrow. You must have been running late all day. The others gave 98462 a foul look, but Edward just smiled. Actually, we were right on time. I'm very happy to be useful again. Edward knew that as long as he did not let Brandon's comments get to him, he wouldn't be waiting for long. And soon enough, not getting any sort of reaction out of Edward, the bully drifted off to sleep. As Edward was now working regularly on passenger trains, Sir Topham Hatt had changed the timetables. This now meant Edward, Gordon, and Brandon would be running the main passenger services all across the island. Despite Edward's doubts, he was determined to work his hardest. Fortunately for him, he ran the loop line, so he only saw Gordon and Brandon at the big stations. The weeks passed, and Edward wondered if his trains were getting heavier or if his age was starting to show. The other engines had noticed this and offered to help. No, thank you, panted Edward. You have your own trains to manage. We can't upset Sir Topham Hatt's timetable. Little did the engines know, 98462 had heard everything and came up with a plan. The next morning, Edward arrived to collect his first passenger train. When he arrived, he saw that there were no coaches. Thomas must have woken up late again, he thought. He was just about to go collect some more when Brandon came hooting and wheezing into the platform with Edward's coaches. No need to fret. I'll be taking your train today. Given your state, we mustn't upset Sir Topham Hatt's timetable. Edward was upset, but he thought it best to get on with his work. That evening, Edward was backing into his berth as Brandon was boasting loudly. We don't need Edward anymore. I've proven I can handle 2 trains at once. Why keep him around when all he does is get in the way? Edward helped build these rails that you run on, fumed Thomas. Without him, none of us could have a railway to work on. Brandon interjected. He's a thing of the past. Us bigger tender engines are faster, stronger, more up to date than old iron. Edward finally gave up. He decided to take a stand against Brandon. Next morning, he woke up earlier than usual to make it to the platform before Brandon. The yard was silent, and Edward felt sure he had beaten him. "And what do you think you're doing?" fussed Brandon. "Collecting my coaches for my passenger train." "I don't think so. You're nothing but slow and old. You're going to sit in the shed and wait to be sent away. Or even better, scrapped!" Before Edward could say anything else, 98462 backed onto his line and coupled up to his coaches. Edward's heart sank, but not for long. "And just what do you think you're doing?" bellowed a familiar voice. It was Sir Topham Hatt. Collecting my train, sir," Brandon replied, trying to look as innocent as he could. "From what I've just seen, that is not the case at all. I've had passenger complaints about how they were taken to the wrong stations, and fellow workers complaining about your treatment to other engines." 98462's face went as white as a ghost. "My engines," Sir Topham Hatt went on, "work hard and help fellow engines. You have done neither of those. Let me remind you that I've brought you here to work on trial, and I can see now you are not fit for my railway. You shall go back home to the other railway tonight. But for now, I want you to go back to the sheds." Brandon couldn't muster up a response, and so sulked back to the sheds. Sir Topham Hatt turned to Edward. "You must understand, Edward. You are one of my engines. You might not think so, but you are not alone on this railway. If you have any more problems, you must come and see me right away." Edward could see from his warm smile that Sir Topham Hatt was told everything. He looked across the yard and saw Henry and Thomas smiling back. "Now, you have a train to pull, and after that, I want you to have a nice, long rest." As he set off, he felt his position on Sir Topham Hatt's railway was secure, and had no more problems from that day on. That was until Gordon. But I mustn't say any more, or I shall spoil the next story.